Jeffrey Hunter names the gay actors of old Hollywood he dated in secret. Jeffrey Hunter was born Henry Herman McKinney Jr. on November 25, 1926, in New Orleans, Louisiana. Raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, after his family moved there in the 1930s, Hunter displayed a strong work ethic and deep interest in the performing arts from an early age. His passion for acting would eventually lead him from the Midwest to the golden lights of Hollywood, where he would leave an indelible mark. Hunter attended Whitefish Bay High School, where he was actively involved in drama, and later pursued theater studies at Northwestern University, one of the most prestigious institutions for aspiring actors. There, he honed his craft under notable instructors, gaining valuable experience in both classical and contemporary stage work. His education was briefly interrupted when he joined the U.S. Navy during World War II, serving honorably as a radar technician. Following his military service, he resumed his studies, earning a degree in speech and radio from Northwestern. He later attended UCLA for graduate studies, a move that positioned him in the heart of the film industry at a time when television and cinema were rapidly evolving. Jeffrey Hunter's entrance into Hollywood came at a time when major studios were scouting for fresh-faced talent who could lead post-war film audiences into a new era. His handsome, clean-cut appearance and intense blue eyes quickly caught the attention of 20th Century Fox, who signed him to a contract in 1950. His early film appearances included supporting roles in films such as 14 Hours, 1951, and Call Me Mr., 1951, but it wasn't long before he was cast in more prominent parts that showcased his talent and charisma. One of Hunter's most critically acclaimed performances came in John Ford's 1956 Western classic The Searchers, where he starred opposite the legendary John Wayne. In the role of Martin Pauly, an adopted nephew on a years-long quest to rescue his kidnapped cousin, Hunter brought emotional depth and quiet strength to a film often considered one of the greatest in the genre. His ability to hold his own alongside Wayne in such a complex narrative solidified his reputation as a serious actor with range and screen magnetism. In 1961, Hunter achieved another milestone in his career when he portrayed Jesus Christ in the biblical epic King of Kings, directed by Nicholas Ray. The role was both a triumph and a burden. While it showcased his ability to convey serene gravitas and spiritual intensity, some critics and audiences questioned whether his matinee idol looks were too striking for the sacred role. Nevertheless, Hunter delivered a heartfelt and sincere performance that is still appreciated today for its dignity and compassion. The film found a lasting audience over time, especially during religious holidays, and it remains one of his most widely recognized works. Despite these major roles, Hunter's career faced challenges in the mid-1960s as he sought to break free from typecasting and prove his versatility. He worked across genres, appearing in war films like No Man is an Island, 1962, and sci-fi projects like Dimension 5, 1966. He also turned to television with notable success. In 1965, he was cast as Captain Christopher Pike in the original pilot of Star Trek titled The Cage, a groundbreaking role that linked him to one of the most iconic science fiction franchises in history. Though NBC rejected the pilot and Hunter did not continue with the series, his portrayal of Pike has since become a foundational part of Star Trek lore, with his version of the character honored in later spin-offs and revivals. Jeffrey Hunter's personal life was marked by a series of significant relationships and family commitments that paralleled the arc of his Hollywood career. His first marriage took place at a formative time in his life and career. In December 1950, Hunter married actress Barbara Rush, a talented performer who, like Hunter, was gaining attention in Hollywood during the early 1950s. The two young stars were often viewed as a glamorous couple, emblematic of the era's ideal of Hollywood domesticity. Their union attracted considerable media attention, and in 1952, they welcomed their only child together, a son named Christopher. As Hunter's acting career gathered momentum, particularly with roles in high-profile films such as The Searchers, 1956. The pressures of fame, constant travel, and the demands of film production likely placed considerable strain on the marriage. Despite their shared experiences in the entertainment industry, the couple divorced in 1955 after 5 years together, a split that garnered press coverage due to their celebrity status. In 1957, 2 years after his divorce from Rush, Hunter married for a second time. His new bride was Dusty Bartlett, a striking and sophisticated fashion model who had previously been married and had a young son named Steele. Demonstrating a strong sense of devotion and responsibility, Hunter adopted Steele as his own, establishing a blended family that would later grow. Jeffrey and Dusty went on to have 2 additional sons together, Todd and Scott. For a decade, from 1957 to 1967, the couple maintained a family life that, at least from public appearances, seemed serene and loving. Hunter was often photographed during this time enjoying fatherhood, particularly during his downtime between film projects. He spoke in interviews about the importance of being a hands-on parent, and those who knew him described him as a doting father, deeply invested in his children's upbringing. However, like many marriages touched by the spotlight of fame and the instability of show business, the relationship eventually frayed, and the couple divorced in 1967 after 10 years of marriage. Despite the end of his second marriage, Hunter continued to seek stability and companionship in his personal life. In February 1969, just 3 months before his untimely and tragic death, he married once again, this time to actress Emily McLaughlin. McLaughlin was best known for her longtime role as Nurse Jessie Brewer on the daytime soap opera General Hospital, and she was a prominent figure in the world of television. Their marriage, though tragically brief, represented a final chapter in Hunter's personal journey, a union that took place during a time when he was attempting to reinvigorate his acting career, moving between television and international film projects. Sadly, their time together was cut short when Hunter died unexpectedly in May 1969. Though short-lived, his marriage to McLaughlin was reportedly a happy one, with close friends of the couple noting that Hunter appeared content and hopeful about his future, both personally and professionally. In the twilight of his short yet dazzling life, Jeffrey Hunter, best known for his striking good looks, piercing blue eyes, and leading roles in films like King of Kings and The Searchers, quietly confided to a close friend and biographer about the secret personal relationships he had carefully hidden from the public eye during Hollywood's most repressive era. In an era when homosexuality was not just taboo, but potentially career-ending, Hunter's private life was a carefully guarded compartment of his identity, one filled with deep emotion, heartbreak, and camaraderie among others who shared the same burden. According to The Confidant, Hunter revealed that he had discreet relationships with several well-known actors of the 1950s and early 1960s, men who also lived dual lives behind the screen's glamorous illusion. One of the names Hunter allegedly mentioned was Anthony Perkins, the brooding and enigmatic star of Psycho. The two had reportedly met at a party thrown by director Nicholas Ray in the mid-1950s, where Hunter was struck by Perkins's nervous energy and shy charm. Their relationship, as Hunter described it, was fleeting but meaningful. "We were both so scared," he reportedly said. "We talked more than we touched, because even touching felt dangerous." Perkins, known for his long string of secret same-sex liaisons, was said to have confided in Hunter about his fear of being outed and losing everything he had worked for. Their connection was one of understanding, punctuated by the constant ticking clock of society's disapproval. Another name whispered in Hunter's confession was Tab Hunter, no relation, the blonde heartthrob and box-office idol whose own struggles with his sexuality would later be chronicled in his autobiography, Tab Hunter Confidential. According to Jeffrey, the two had been introduced by a mutual agent at Warner Bros., where both were under contract and heavily typecast as romantic leads. They bonded over shared frustrations, the roles they wanted but were denied, and the lives they dreamed of but could never fully live. Their relationship was more physical than his one with Perkins, and though it only lasted a few months, Jeffrey described it as a rare time I could breathe. A third figure Hunter allegedly named was Sal Mineo, the troubled young actor and co-star of Rebel Without a Cause. Unlike Perkins and Tab, Mineo was considerably younger than Hunter, but they had shared a surprising connection. They met on a charity project in 1962 and struck up a friendship that turned into something more intense. "He was fearless in a way that scared me," Hunter said, according to the biographer. Mineo, who would later become one of the few actors to be more open about his bisexuality in the 1970s, was said to have pursued Hunter with intensity and candor. Though their affair was brief, it left an impression on Hunter. "He didn't hide as much as the rest of us did. Maybe that's why he didn't last," he added, referring both to Mineo's tragically short life and the brutal costs of nonconformity in the Hollywood machine. These relationships, though kept secret from the world, were meaningful chapters in Jeffrey Hunter's inner life. He never had the luxury of living openly as a bisexual man, if indeed that is how he saw himself, but he found solace in the companionship of men who also bore the burden of secrecy. Whether his marriages to women like Barbara Rush and Dusty Bartlett were loving, strategic, or both, it's clear that Hunter, like so many others of his time, lived within the strict boundaries of public expectation while his heart explored a broader truth in private. His willingness to name these men, even in hushed tones late in life, speaks to a longing for honesty and perhaps a reckoning with the past he never quite got to see made right. In November 1968, Jeffrey Hunter traveled to Spain to begin work on what would ultimately become his final film project, Cry Chicago, released in some markets as Viva America. The film was an ambitious international production centered on the violent inner workings of the Chicago Mafia, a subject that had captivated audiences worldwide in the wake of the popularity of gangster dramas. Set against a European backdrop and partially funded by Spanish producers, the film promised gritty action sequences and intense drama, elements that unfortunately led to a tragic and unforeseen accident for Hunter. While filming a scene that involved a carefully choreographed car explosion, tragedy struck. A car window near Hunter had been rigged with pyrotechnics to simulate an outward blast, adding to the visual drama of the sequence. However, something went wrong with the special effects timing or placement. Instead of shattering outward as designed, the glass and explosive force were propelled inward, directly toward Hunter, who was standing nearby. The blast left him dazed and seriously injured. He sustained a significant concussion, which was made worse by the force of the explosion and the potential for glass shards and debris to have struck him. Despite the severity of the incident, Hunter, ever the professional, managed to finish his work on the production. But his physical and neurological condition was already deteriorating. According to his third wife, actress Emily McLaughlin, whom he had married just a few months earlier in February 1969, Hunter exhibited alarming symptoms on the flight back to the United States. She recalled with deep concern that he went into shock during the flight. His behavior changed drastically. He became virtually nonverbal, unable to speak, and could barely move. These were early, ominous signs of the trauma his brain had suffered. Upon arriving back in Los Angeles, Hunter was immediately admitted to Good Samaritan Hospital. There, doctors conducted extensive evaluations to determine the extent of his injuries. To their surprise, they were unable to locate any major or life-threatening damage apart from two key findings: a concussion, whose effects can sometimes be delayed or unpredictable, and a displaced vertebra, which may have added to his general weakness and immobility. He was released with instructions to rest and recuperate, but unbeknownst to the medical team, the worst was yet to come. Months later, On the afternoon of May 26, 1969, a devastating event occurred. While descending a staircase at his home in the Van Nuys neighborhood of Los Angeles, Hunter suddenly collapsed. He had suffered a massive intracranial hemorrhage, likely a delayed and catastrophic complication from his earlier head trauma. As he fell, he struck his head again, this time fracturing his skull. He was found unconscious and unresponsive in his home shortly thereafter, possibly by a neighbor or family member, and was rushed by ambulance to Valley Presbyterian Hospital. Doctors acted quickly. Emergency brain surgery was performed in an attempt to relieve the swelling and pressure caused by the hemorrhage, but the damage was too severe. Despite all efforts to save him, Jeffrey Hunter passed away the next morning, on May 27, 1969, at approximately 9:30 a.m. He was only 42 years old. His death shocked fans and colleagues alike. A promising and still youthful actor, whose chiseled looks and warm on-screen charisma had made him a favorite in both biblical epics and westerns, was gone far too soon. Hunter's funeral was held on May 31, 1969, at St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Van Nuys, where friends, family, and former co-stars gathered to mourn the loss of a man whose career had been marked by quiet professionalism, striking screen presence, and a humble demeanor. His widow, Emily McLaughlin, then starring on General Hospital, was devastated. He was laid to rest at Glen Haven Memorial Park in Sylmar, California, where his grave has